the best response you can have to a payoff in a thriller is someone goes, "Oh, right, I forgot. Of course, I should have thought that."
On Story offers a look inside the creative process from today's leading writers, creators, and filmmakers. All of our content is recorded live at Austin Film Festival and our year-round events. To view previous episodes, visit onstory.tv. On Story is brought to you in part by the Alice Clayburgh Reynolds Foundation, a Texas family providing innovative funding since 1979. From Austin Film Festival, this is On Story, a look inside the creative process from today's leading writers, creators, and filmmakers. This week's On Story, Emmy Award-winning writer, director, producer, Keenen Ivory Wayans.
I had a vision for something, and it really just started there. You can never predict the outcome. You can't sit down and write something and go, it's going to change the world. You have no idea, you know what I mean? So you write what you are inspired to write, and then the universe will do the rest.
In this episode, Keenen Ivory Wayans takes an in-depth look at his career from the influential film Hollywood Shuffle to his seminal groundbreaking series In Living Color.
How did you go from being an engineering student in Alabama to pursuing stand-up? Talk to me a little bit about that.
Well, this is a great example of life. If you embrace life and just let it take you, you will end up where you're going. So what do I mean by that? So I grew up in New York, in New York City, Manhattan, and I had finished high school, and I wanted to be a comedian, but I had no idea how. I didn't know anybody in show business. I lived in the projects. I had no idea. And my uncle was working with the historically black colleges. And he said, well, why don't we weren't even talking about show business. He said, you should go to college. And I hadn't really been thinking about going to college. He said, well, just apply and see what happens. So I applied, I took the SATs, and I did good. And I got a scholarship to go to Tuskegee. And while I was at Tuskegee, I was one of the only few guys from New York City. And what I would do is at lunchtime, I'd be on the fountain telling all these funny stories about New York. And I'd be doing all these characters and making people laugh. And every day people would gather around, and it was, my time. And one day a guy came up to me, and he was from New York, and he said, you know what, when you go home, you should check out the Improv. And I was like, what is that? And he said, oh, it's where Richard Pryor started. That was all he had to say. And that was the beginning of my figuring out how to do stand-up. So it took me going 2,000 miles away to Tuskegee, Alabama, to find out about a comedy club that was literally 1 mile away from where I grew up. So that's life.
Legend has it that on maybe your first or second time out, that's when you met Robert Townsend?
Oh, Robert Townsend, that's you have in this business, you'll have your day one,
right.
The first friend you make. And I went that night to the Improv, and there's a line. You got to get in line and sign up. And I saw a little furry afro, and I was like, oh, there's somebody like me. And and I went over and said hello, and that was my first friend that I met in show business. And that's the guy that you have all your dreams with. I mean, we didn't have money back in those days, and we would walk literally from one comedy club to another. And as we walked, we would just talk about all the things we wanted to do one day. And we moved out to LA, and after about a couple of years of the Hollywood Shuffle, we decided, you know, Robert said he wanted to direct. And I was like, yeah, you know, you should. And he was like, but, you know, we don't know anything about making movies. I was like, yeah, but we know, you know, we know enough to do something. So he decided at first we would do shorts, right? So don't worry about what you don't know, just do what you do know. So what we did, we were comedians, so we set up a video camera and we laid out different articles of clothing, and each one represented a character, and we just improvised. And then we would watch what we did, and the stuff that we thought worked, we wrote it down, and then we would improvise some more. And that's how we wrote the sketches. Neither one of us had ever taken a writing course or anything, but like I said, we went with what we knew.
Bobby.
Donald, Tiny, it's been a long time.
Yeah, what, 10 years? Man, we've been watching you on TV and the movies. I always knew you was gonna make it, man. Didn't I always say you was gonna make it?
Yeah, sure did.
We need you, Bobby. We need you, man. Could you do a commercial for us, Bobby? I know you can't tell, but
Please,
the business
Bobby.
really ain't doing that good. Could you please?
Please, Bobby.
Could you please
Bobby.
do a commercial?
Please,
please,
Bobby.
please. So please, please, please get your together or you fired.
You can have Winky Dinky Dog. I quit.
When you grow up with nothing, right? Nothing is, that's just part of your existence. So you don't worry about that. You just, your mindset is always problem, solution, because if you get stuck at the problem, you don't have anything, you know? Permits. We didn't have permits. Again, a bunch of kids from the projects, you put somebody in a corner, he whistles when the cop comes, and you throw everything in the van and go, you know? It's great when you're too dumb to know you can't do things. You know what I mean? It's like we thought we could fly. We didn't know.
It's a hysterically funny movie, Hollywood Shuffle, but it also has some really biting cultural commentary, a theme that's gone throughout all of your work. Do you find that comedy is a better medium for that kind of thing when you're dealing with big social issues in some ways?
I do, but I have to be honest. Our goal really was just to make a movie, and sort of the universal forces kind of guided us to that outcome. You know, again, we were writing what we knew and talking about our experience. So once it was, you know, on film, you realize your experience is commenting on something.
What we're looking for is an Eddie Murphy type.
We want somebody who can act like Eddie Murphy from head to toe.
Someone who can dress like Eddie Murphy, to have a Murphy-like quality, Murphy-esque, to be Murphonic.
Shut up.
Hello, kids. It's open, Mr. Roberts.
There he is. He's the one we want.
I just want to be me. I don't want to be Eddie Murphy. I just want to be me. I just want...
Yes.
Get the out of here. That's what we're looking for.
Talk about the reception of that film. I mean, it blew up in a big way.
Well, it was, you know, it's funny because when we finished the movie, there weren't a lot of places that wanted the movie. They didn't get it. And we ended up at the Goldwyn Company, and Sam Goldwyn, he was independent, and he definitely had vision. Because at the time, there hadn't been a black movie in the marketplace for 20 years. It was the end of the exploitation era, and then there was nothing, literally nothing. So it was a real kind of learning curve just for how to sell the movie. And I remember, like, he wanted to cut out the Jerry curl stuff because he was just like, I don't know what that is. You know, and I think it's 10 minutes of people just going, what is that? And I said, so we negotiated with him and said, okay, let us at least keep it in for one screening, right? And he said, okay. Well, the first screening was in Oakland, California, which at the time was the home of the Jerry curl. Right. It was like, and when that scene came on, it was like somebody put a bomb in the movie theater. Like, people literally were jumping and running down the aisles. And so, you know, he obviously realized, oh, well, this resonates somewhere, you know? Yeah.
You looking for me, Punk?
Must be Jerry Curl.
Yeah, how'd you guess?
I need to ask you some questions about Cookie Head Jenkins.
I don't know nobody named Cookie Head Jenkins. And don't be coming around here asking me no more.
The thing was, there was such a drought that people they came out, and I said this to the guy, I said, just imagine if there hadn't been a white film in 20 years, you know? I was like, people gonna come just because. Just to see themselves. It doesn't. We don't have to be good. We just have to be there. That's it. And you know, thank God it was good. But you know, it was like I said, there was just like nothing. So I'm gonna get you, sucker. I'm gonna get you, sucker. Is a parody of all the black exploitation movies.
I heard it came out of you just cracking up your friends watching these old movies.
No, actually. Those are the movies that I grew up on. The idea for the movie came up from, yes, sitting around my friends, but my friend was Eddie Murphy. So Eddie and I and a few other guys were sitting around laughing about these movies. And Eddie said somebody should do a parody of these movies and call it I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker. And we laughed about it, and then maybe like a year later, I called him up and I said, "Are you gonna do anything with that idea?" He was like, "Nah, I was just messing around." I was like, "Okay." I said, "Well, I'm gonna run with that." He was like, "Go ahead." And then that's what I did. I sat down and I wrote, "I'm gonna get you, sucker."
I'm gonna get you, sucker.
Let's get that sucker.
It's the good guys against the bad guys.
Oh, how come their guns are so much bigger than ours?
I'm gonna get you, sucker.
No.
It's got passion, pumps, rhythm, and soul.
Preach, brother!
Who are these guys? It's my theme music. Every good hero should have some.
I'm gonna get you, sucker. Don't say that.
You know, when Robert and I were coming up, all of our early work was part of a renaissance that was starting to happen culturally. So on that wave came Hollywood Shuffle and Spike Lee and In Living Color. And so America as a country was starting to just, I won't say embrace, I would say consume, you know, African-American culture in a different way. So, you know, it was an interesting time. After I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker, I got a meeting at Fox. Well, actually, I screened the movie for all the movie side of all the studios. And I got a call from Fox TV. And they said, well, look, you know, we're a new network. And, you know, unlike the other networks, you know, we will let you do anything you want to do. You know, you can't tell a comedian you can do anything. So I tested them to see. And then they asked me, they said, so tell us what your vision of the show is. And I said, well, you know, I think the show will be fun and, you know, revolutionary. And the guy goes, revolutionary? Seriously, he said, revolutionary. Tell us what you mean by that. and I had to like calm them down. Like, no, I don't mean revolution like that. I mean like, you know, comedically revolutionary in that, you know, people haven't seen it before. And then, like a few weeks before they wanted to air the pilot, I sat down with Peter Chernin, and they wanted to take out a bunch of stuff. So they wanted to take out Men on Film and Homeboy Shopping Network and and The Wrath of Farrakhan. What he said was they were nervous, and that what they wanted to do was kind of slowly introduce the material to the audience. And that he thought that it would have a better chance for success doing it like that. And I said to him, I said, you know, I appreciate you guys, you know, wanting to give the show its best launch, but that's not my mindset. I said, I want to kick the door in guns blazing, and whatever happens, happens. I don't want to try to trick the audience this week to think it's the nice Negro, and then and 3 weeks from now, I show up, you know. I said, so, you know, I said, let's just go for it. I said, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I'm fine with that. He said, okay. And then the rest is history.
Yo, all you bad bargain hunters out there, welcome to the Homeboy Shopping Network. Yo, we're the host with the most. I'm Wiz, this the Iceman. Chun, yo, show them what we got. With all this stuff, man. It's like a warehouse sale. All this stuff. We got it. Let's show them first time. All right, we got this. For your automotive needs, we got car phones. We got car stereos. We got car alarms. And if you act now, we could probably get the car. Right?
Do you think everyone was just so hungry for a show like this? I mean, it makes sense that people would come to you to be a part of something.
I didn't know. I like I said, I had a vision for something, and it really just started there. Like you can never predict the outcome. You can't sit down and write something and go, it's going to change the world. It's like you have no idea. You know what I mean? It's like, so you write what you are inspired to write, and then the universe will do the rest.
And I remember hearing about there was a counter-programming Super Bowl halftime show.
Oh, yeah. That's like a historic moment. The plan was to not go up against the Super Bowl, but to go up against halftime, because halftime, nobody watched. Most people got up. That's when you went to the bathroom, and you know what I mean? Nobody really cared about the marching band on the field and all that. So I was like, yeah, we can do this. So we, not only did we go up against the halftime, but we put a clock up to let people know when to turn. So no one worried about missing anything, because we were like, we'll let you know when it comes back on. Right. It was one of the highest rated moments in television history, because everybody watching the Super Bowl watched our half hour. And it was so successful that the next year they hired Michael Jackson to be halftime in Super Bowl. So, yeah.
And you were live.
Yeah, and we were live, and we got in trouble, and it was all worth it. The audition process for In Living Color really was first me bringing everybody in that I liked, and improvs. And that's where a lot of people got weeded out, was because they didn't have the improvisational skills. And then once I chose my cast, I would have sessions with the cast where I literally would just have them tell me about their life, all the people they knew, who they grew up with, you know, cousins, uncles, everybody, because I've always believed, and this is my thing with every writer, is the first character I have them do is their mother. Everybody in this room can do their mother in any situation. So if I say, do your mom at the laundromat, you can go on for 20 minutes, you know? And that's the key to writing character, is just what voice, right, do you hear? So that's why I would start with the closest around them. Then we would go to teachers and, you know, then it would just be, okay, this summer, just observe everybody you meet, because now you have some notoriety, some of the strangest characters are going to come up to you. So I'll give you an example of, I was in my dressing room. I'm going to my dressing room. I get inside, and one of Tommy Davidson's friends from D.C. is sitting in my dressing room. And I'm like, I have no idea who he is. And he just starts pitching me stuff. So I finally get to who he is, and I'm like, okay, just chill here for a second. I go out and I grab Tommy. I'm like, yo, man, what's this dude doing in my dressing room? He's like, oh, man, Keenen, I'm sorry. You know, he was supposed to be in my dressing room. I don't know how he got down there. So I started telling him what the guy was doing and everything. So we're laughing about it. I go upstairs to open the show, and Tommy and David come out as the BS brothers, the two guys who, looky here, homie, you know, and they start pitching me all the bad ideas that Tommy's friend had been pitching me in my dressing room. And we just, you know, those characters went on to, you know, become staples on the show, but it was really just us around, you know. So.
There we are, Funky Finger Productions. We are now in business.
Hello?
Oh, look busy.
Okay.
Conference call. Nah, don't get me wrong now. Nell Carter's a gigantic talent, humongous.
But look here, what we looking for, Home Skillet, is somebody who looks like Cicely Tyson, but sings like Peebo Bryson, you know?
Quincy, stop playing. Fresh Prince gonna be all right. This here's long distance.
My brothers, Marlon and Sean, after doing Don't Be a Menace, they... that was their I'ma Get You Sucker. So after that, Sean had the idea to make fun of the horror genre. And I thought they were definitely right. And so we got together and we became horror junkies, and we watched every horror movie, and, you know, then picked the stuff that we thought to make fun of. And then the construct is really, when you're writing parody, you have to pick something that has permeated pop culture. If you just pick a random movie that people haven't seen, they're not going to get the reference. And you have to pick a genre that people are just sick of, where they can't, they'll throw up if they see another one, you know? So, like I said, with Airplane, they had done a ton of these bad disaster movies, and people were just like, oh, I'll kill you if you... And so they picked that one. So you have to, like I say, you have to pick stuff that has permeated pop culture so that people, as soon as they see it, that's the setup, so they already know. So, you know, Scream is what we use. Scream and I Know What You Did Last Summer were the movies we used for Scary Movie. Scream took horror to another level. So horror, at the time, horror movies made, you know, $20, $30 million. Scream did $120 million. So it really was like, you know, a broad audience movie. So it really helped us in that it made the genre bigger. When you're a minority, whether it's African American or female or Hispanic or whatever, there's kind of like you're damned if you do and damned if you don't. So I'd rather be damned for doing, you know what I mean? And what I felt was unfair was that everything that I was doing was being not reviewed as a movie, but being reviewed as sort of a social commentary. And so I did a movie like I'ma Get You Sucker, which is a parody of black exploitation films. And you would have thought I was responsible for slavery and poverty, and the reviews were like, it was just insanity to me. I was like, it's a parody. Like, what are you talking about? You know, it's like, as long as you're moving forward, you're gonna get somewhere. You don't know where, but you're gonna get somewhere, right? If you take off walking today, you're gonna get somewhere. So the thing is that as long as you are going, so do stuff. That's it. It's like, don't sit, just do stuff.
You've been watching a conversation with Keenen Ivory Wayans on Story. On Story is part of a growing number of programs in Austin Film Festival's On Story project, including the On Story PBS series, now streaming online, the On Story radio program and podcast in collaboration with Public Radio International, and the On Story book series available on Amazon. To find out more about On Story and Austin Film Festival, visit onstory.tv or austinfilmfestival.com.